You ever see a car wreck and think, yeah, I could buff that out? That is the foundational delusion of the modern era. We trade a genuine human connection for this jagged, parasitic obsession we call stan culture. And Emma Higgins decided to bottle that sickness in a neon-lit jar called Sweetness. They're calling it misery for the TikTok generation, but let's be real, Annie Wilkes had class. She had a sledgehammer and a dream. Rylee Hill just has a ring light, a dead mom complex, and the kind of I can fix him energy that usually ends with a restraining order or a shallow grave. Tonight we're peeling back the glitter to see the rot underneath. It's loud, it's cringy, and it might be the most frustrating 2 hours I spent in a dark room this year. Let's talk about why this sweetness leaves such a bitter aftertaste. Visually, this thing is a mood board come to life. All hazy purples, aggressive grain, the specific Euphoria filter that makes every suburban basement look like a high-end music video. The cinematography is doing a lot of heavy lifting to convince you this is deep, seeing the screen in a nostalgic 2000s emo glow that feels like a warm hug right before a kidney punch. It's got style for days, but it's the kind of style that tries to distract you from the fact that the script is running on fumes and recycled tropes. But look, pretty colors don't make a plot. And the music, well, we'll do that auditory disaster in a minute. Grab a beer, settle in, because we're diving into the deep end of Rylee's psychotic little fan fiction. We're introduced to Rylee Hill, played by Kate Hallett. She's not just a fan, she's an architect of a soul-level connection that only exists in her head. Hallett sells this socially awkward teen vibe perfectly before the mask starts slipping. She's definitely looks like one of those girls at that very awkward preteen, teen age. And it actually helps the film a little bit with that awkward stage and kind of like the Annie Wilkes role. Then it's her target, who is Payton Adler, played by Herman Tamaras, the pop star of this fictional band Floor Plan. He's basically like this emo pop star with this cringy terrible music. The music was made for the movie. It's awful, but maybe it's supposed to be awful. It's supposed to be for preteen girls, of course. And he's essentially the human projection screen for Rylee's trauma. He's a recovering drug addict, and when he almost hits Rylee in the parking lot, he decides to help take her home. This is where the catalyst comes in, the impaired driving angle. He goes by to his dealer and then continues to go on the way to Rylee's home to take her back. But he's very impaired and basically passes out and almost crashes the car. This is a mirror of the drunk driver who killed Rylee's mom that she confessed to him on the car ride to the dealer's house. Instead of calling 911, Rylee sees a fixer-upper opportunity and drags him back to her house. He passes out in her bathroom at her home and then basically handcuffs him to her bed to kind of let him sort himself out, I guess, to cleanse his system, to rehab him, along with her friend, her best friend. And also, did I mention her dad's a cop? Justin Chatwin, yeah, the live-action Goku himself, plays Rylee's dad, which adds a layer of how oblivious is he tension to the first act. Director Emma Higgins is coming from the music video world, from Tegan and Sarah and Marina's Trench, explains why the movie looks like $1 million but feels like a 90-minute mood piece. She knows the tour life grit and maybe stayed too close to that aesthetic. Now, apparently there was a TikTok X firestorm around this. Is it a deconstruction of parasocial relationships or just kidnapping core? Higgins claims that it's about getting lost in your own delusions, but the internet is busy unironically standing for that fake band Floor Plan. The internet never ceases to amaze me. Rylee literally builds a shrine to Payton. It's around her bed, on her walls, in her bedroom. And Higgins used her real-life touring observations to show how fans turn artists into gods to heal their own wounds. And I kind of respect her going through that angle. And I have to talk about how awful this music is. Like I said before, it might be the point. But they use the music throughout the movie, as in, like, stylistically, I guess. So maybe it wasn't ironic, but it's terrible. Blitz Berlin composed it. Man, it sounds like C-tier emo pop that's supposed to be deep but makes your teeth ache. It's played for, unironically for style for the movie, but I don't know. It's just pure cringe. But that's me. I'm in my 40s, so maybe it's just me. So basically, this is Misery with a Euphoria filter, but none of the suspense. So what's the point? Why remake Misery for Gen Z or Gen Alpha or whatever generation this is? When you got Misery right here at home, it's perfect. It's almost perfect. It's probably perfect. I would consider it pretty perfect. R.I.P. Rob Reiner. And the thing with this story is that you can see the twists coming like a mile away. You know what's going to happen between her and her friend. You know what's going to happen between her and her dad's wife. It's like, oh no, I accidentally killed somebody. Oh no, I purposely killed somebody. It's an escalation of events. And this movie has Stephen Ogg. He plays Payton's manager, and I always look forward to seeing Stephen Ogg, even if it's like a small role like Better Call Saul, because he was Trevor in GTA, one of the most iconic video game characters in the last like 20 years. But this movie wastes him. He doesn't really do a whole lot in this movie. And I wanted that Trevor from GTA energy. But what we got was just a background character. So around the middle, Rylee's friend tries to save her from an escaped Payton. Payton escapes, running around the fucking neighborhood, screaming, knocking on doors. No one's home, apparently. Rylee comes to get him, and he's about to whack Rylee in the head with a 2x4, and he gets hit by Rylee's friend with her car, knocking him out. And Rylee's friend finally comes to her senses, like, we gotta call the cops. We can't keep doing this. I'm gonna go to my parents. Then she tries to escape suddenly, and then trying to quiet her down, Rylee accidentally suffocates her to death. So you can kind of see the escalation with this is like she accidentally killed somebody to hide the fact that she has Payton, which she thinks Payton is in love with her. Delusional or whatever. Then later in the movie, like around maybe before the third act, Payton's dad's girlfriend actually finds Payton, and she like fucking whacks her in the head and on purpose, and she falls down the stairs, and she like Chuckied her. She did what Chucky did in Child's Play 2, like purposely. So of course she's becoming an intentional killer. Which again, beat by beat, this movie's like super predictable. What do you think's going to happen? What do you think's going to happen? Do you think Payton's going to pretend to be in love with her and then try to trick her to escape? That's exactly what happens. The transition from awkward to serial killer is fast and messy. Now I want to talk about that last part because this put it over the edge of me like very much disliking the movie. So after she gets rid of her dad's girlfriend's body, she goes down dressed up in lingerie. And okay, this is a girl who can't drive, so I'm guessing she's like 13, 14, 15. He's like, I'm dressed all slutty. Am I too slutty? I'm like, this is bad. Like, I get what they're trying to do here, but it's just handled so poorly and just so creepy, and not in a I don't think in a way they were intending. Like, this is cringe creepy. She's dressed up to lure Payton, who's an adult, and he flirts back with her because he wants to get the fuck out of there. And it's this whole section, it feels like exploitative and poorly handled. And not provocative, just uncomfortable just for all the wrong reasons. But it works for Payton though, because he got her. He got her ass. Not in that way, but he escapes and handcuffs her to the basement. He finally gets out. He escapes. He drives away like Jesse in the last episode of Breaking Bad, only to go to his dealer's house and OD because he hears his own song on the radio. Yeah. It's a cynical and bleak end for the victim, and just wow. I kind of hated this. But it's not over yet. Okay, so the dad, live action Goku, Chatwin, is called to the scene where this is where we find out as audience that Payton overdosed at his dealer's house in the escaped car. And guess what? He finds the necklace of his daughter on there, and he rips it off. He's like, "Oh, it can't be." Stuffs it in his pocket. Then they discovered the body of his girlfriend in the trunk of the car that he escaped in, assuming that he killed her. Of course, the dad knows the daughter was behind this by now, and he's covering up for her. Then we jump to a year later, and the dad just kind of stares at her in her room, knowing she's a monster. And she's just chilling in bed, headphones on, listening to the music of the man she destroyed. It tries to be this profound and unapologetic ending, but it just feels very dumb and unearned. Wow, I hated this. It's like, thanks, I hate it. Thanks. When the credits finally roll on Sweetness, you're not left with a deep meditation on the cost of fame or the weight of grief. You're just left with the realization that you've watched a Gen Alpha remake of a classic stripped of the soul and the stakes that made it the original work. It wants to be a bad ending masterpiece, but it forgets that for a tragedy to land, you have to care about the wreckage. Rylee doesn't represent a new kind of villain. She's just a symptom of a script that thinks style can replace substance. It's a movie that stares into the abyss, and the abyss stares back and asks, is that the best you've got? This one is strictly for the aesthetic obsessed and the completionist who need to see every iteration of the crazy fan trope. If you want a real deconstruction of this stuff, go find Lurker from last year. It actually has something to say and does it in a unique way. If you want to see Gen Z Annie Wilkes just fumble through a kidnapping plot and her dad is live action Goku while shitty emo pop plays in the background, well, Sweetness is your Huckleberry. I'm giving Sweetness a 1.5 out of 5. It's got the look of a diamond, but the structural integrity of a wet paper towel. Save your ears from the soundtrack and your brain from the logic gaps. But what did you think of Sweetness? Let me know down in the comments below. YouTube thinks you'll like one of these other videos by my head, and I'll see you next time.